Alright guys, I am Kyrie Patterson, also known as That Boy Kyrie here. Today I have another audio video, and this one's going to be about the Tea Party and the Coercive Acts. Alright, so there were these things called committees of correspondence, which were basically groups of patriots who were rebellious against the British Crown and had some political aspirations. Alright, so the committees of correspondence, of course, organized resistance to the Tea Acts, because they viewed the Tea Acts as being unfair and as creating monopolies which discriminated against American colonists and took away from their opportunity to create business for themselves. And so the committees of correspondence persuaded other townspeople to, say basically screw the British tea. Alright, so when the Sons of Liberty prevented the East India Company's ships from coming in, basically what had happened was Governor Thomas Hutchinson of Boston got angry, and he started to try and send in some ships with some troops to transport the tea, with the troops. And so one day they bought in this ship called the Dartmouth, okay, and on December 16, 1773, a group of artisans disguised as Indians, they went onto the Dartmouth and they destroyed the tea and they threw it into the harbor. Okay? And this was very important because this was actually an act of American terrorism, like the Iraq War. But more than just being an act of terrorism, it was also an act of defiance, and it was a symbolic act that, you British can't just come up in here and control us, And to give a little, contextualization of what happened, they dumped 342 chests of tea into the harbor. And that only amounts to about 10,000 pounds, okay? You might be saying, oh, that's not that big of a deal. Well, in today's money, that would be about $900,000. And you have to remember, the East India Company was a royally chartered corporation. And so that was almost a direct insult to the king himself. Alright, so the Brits were, of course, freaking pissed about this. And the British Privy Council was outraged. And, of course, King George had negative things to say about this because it was an act of terrorism, of American terrorism, that negatively affected him personally. And so he said, quote, "The time has come for composure," end quote. You might be asking why I say it like that. Because he was British. It's correct. Trust me. So in 1774, Parliament decided to make what are known as the Coercive Acts. And the Coercive Acts were a group of 4 acts that was supposed to be designed to force Massachusetts into submission, because they viewed the Tea Party as an act of terrorism and an act that was very, very bad. It was almost unforgivable. And so the Coercive Acts consisted of the Boston Port Bill, which closed Boston Harbor, which negatively affected a lot of merchants in the region. There was also the Massachusetts Government Act, which annulled the colony's charter and prohibited most town meetings. So this got rid of the democratic system that New England had in place. And if you remember from earlier, before, from Sponsler's lectures, New England, that region it had direct democracies, okay? And so this Massachusetts Government Act basically got rid of their direct democracies. A new quartering act was also put in place as like the third part of these coercive acts, And this basically mandated new barracks for British troops. And finally, the Justice Act allowed for trials for capital crimes to be transferred to other colonies or to Britain. And while this might seem maybe unrelated to the Tea Party, this actually had a lot to do with it. And this was like something that's very significant, because where your trials are determines what type of punishment you'll get. And to put this into perspective, let's say that it was the 1950s and I'm a black man, okay? And so a woman accuses me of raping a girl even though there's no evidence of it at all, okay? If I was put on trial in a white neighborhood, I'd almost certainly be found guilty and I'd be sentenced to death, because, you know, all the people on the jury would be white, and they'd be biased against me because of just the racism that existed in the 1950s. Okay? But if I was in a black neighborhood and there was no evidence at all and they could not prove without a reasonable doubt that I had not raped this woman, then I'd be able to go free. And so where your trials are really mattered. And so the Justice Act, it produced a problem with the judicial system or whatever, because, you know, people were getting sent to other places for crimes and not given fair trials by the colonist standards. Alright, that's it for today's video. I am that boy Kyrie. As always, remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat at that boy Kyrie. Please hit that subscribe button. Peace.